This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is the Dark Horse Zeke Andino, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show where it's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the Dark Horse, Zeke Andino.
Hey, thank you for having me, James.
Absolutely. How are you today?
Yeah, doing good. It's a beautiful day here in Australia, so I can't complain.
And where can we see the Dark Horse running event-wise?
March the 9th is my next show, and that's at Dreamworld, which is a theme park for us. We're at a cool little, like an exhibition center, and it's with the promotion I started in, Impact Pro Wrestling, one of the longest running companies in Australia. And after that, I say keep your eyes peeled on social media for a pretty big announcement coming up in maybe late April.
Ooh, okay. And that being said, where can we find you on social media and your merchandise?
You can find me on Instagram at Zeke Andino. That's ZEKEANDINO. It's the same on Twitter and Facebook. Merchandise at the moment is on darkhorselifestyle.com. That link is also like in my bio. And yeah, if you ever I've got some 8x10s that aren't listed online yet. Yeah, just shoot me a DM if you're after anything. And I'll try to help best I can.
Alright, and you don't have to look for it. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Alright.
Perfect.
Let's get into it. Most recently, you actually traveled to Japan to wrestle. And you actually wrestled in one of the most famous wrestling arenas of all time in Korakuen Hall. What was it like wrestling in Korakuen Hall?
Yeah, that was surreal. It was an amazing experience. It's one of those things that I think most wrestlers would probably dream of since even before they start wrestling. Like, we all have our bucket lists and our goals of venues that we want to tick off, and I'm sure on most wrestlers' bucket list, Korakuen Hall is on it. So yeah, it's just one of those things that sort of seem like unobtainable for the longest time, but then when it happened, it was everything I could have wanted and more. I was so nervous, and usually when I get nervous, like throughout the day, I'm like, I just want the show to be over. I want to, I know I'll be banged up afterwards, but I don't want to have any injuries, and I just want to hope it all goes smoothly. But then once I'm out there and my music hits, it's the complete opposite mindset, and I just want it to last forever. So I made sure to remind myself when I walked through the curtain to soak it all in, and it was one of the first times I've really taken a moment to sort of look around and soak it all in, and just be grateful that I have this opportunity. And so many legends and so many events have happened in that arena, and now I'm a part of it.
You mentioned soaking in that moment, in the moment. Are you somebody that takes in those moments, or does it kind of set in afterwards, like, wow, I did this?
Most of the time, I would say it's probably afterwards, but the more experience I've gotten over the years, the more I've learned. Like I've learned how to deal with the nerves. So I do try and just remind myself to enjoy it as much as I can because I feel I do some of my best work when I'm having fun and letting loose. Nerves are definitely a good thing, but yeah, I'd say as of most recently, especially this Japan tour that I did, I really tried to take it all in the moment. If I was having a singles match and there was a time throughout the match where I had time to appreciate all the fans and where I was in that moment and what it took to get there. I made sure to take advantage of that. If I was in a tag team match and I was on the apron and the crowd were going nuts, I made sure to look around and just try and capture that vision in my memory and just be like, wow, like I'm actually fulfilling my dream right now. And yeah, so it took a while to get there though. It was many years of being so concerned about the training and the match and just making sure you come out unscathed so you can make the next town and yeah, you sort of forget what you're doing and why you got into the business or industry or why you got into professional wrestling to begin with, and it's because we love it. So I'm starting to appreciate it more as time goes on.
Now, competing in Japan, um, you know, different culture, different fans as well. What was some of the differences you saw, inside the ring, um, that were maybe different to what you're used to, in Australia, and in the same breath, like the crowd reaction as well.
Yeah, so the crowds are a big thing, and obviously, so wherever you go, the crowds are going to be different. And Japan, I just found they're very respectful, as in, it's like the venues pretty much have particular rules there. I don't know if it's the venue itself, but there's particular rules within, like, being a fan. Like, there's no standing up and, like if something cool's happening in Australia or America or Europe, the people are standing up and they're like cheering and all that. But in Japan, like you've got to, there's this like respect thing where you stay seated for the whole event. They treat it differently over there, and the fans, they have these phenomenal cameras, and they take photos of the events as like a hobby, and that's where all my recent Instagram photos came from. Were fans. Like, it was crazy. I found like they just they're so in love with it. Like the merchandise, like being at the merch table, and they line up for everyone, and they just want like a piece of something that you have to show support and all that. Australia have phenomenal fans too. It's just different. Like, that some people like having a beer here and watching the wrestling show and maybe heckling the wrestlers and all that, and that's
Right.
completely fine because they've paid their hard-earned ticket. And then when I was wrestling in America, I noticed it was pretty much what I'd seen on, because as a fan. And in Australia, WWE is probably one of the most accessible products to watch. So you watch that and you see their fans, and you're like, wow, these guys are like so in love with wrestling. And it was the same over in America. Like, I couldn't believe some of the knowledge that they had. Like, I'm just like, oh, I'm only 5 years into wrestling, and this is my first tour in America, and you guys already know this sort of thing about me. And I just was like blown away by how knowledgeable and how much you guys love it, especially the indie shows. Like, it's not just on WWE TV, but it's every event that you guys attend. You guys are just so passionate about it. So yeah, and I hope I got across that my home fans here in Australia are very passionate too. It's just how they go about it. It's different everywhere.
Oh yeah, and I mean, the thing that everybody wants to know about your tour of Japan is, what are you eating in Japan?
What am I eating? What was I eating? A lot of rice, a lot of rice, and a lot and a lot of steak. So I made sure to like try a lot of different foods, like that's within their culture, and then people like my mates who had been there before are saying, you make sure you try the ramen and all these other traditional Japanese dishes, which I made sure to try. But for the most part, it was steak and rice, and then maybe 4 weeks into the trip, I found this little cafe about 800 meters away from where I was staying, and it sort of resembled home a bit. And I was missing home, and I just that was my daily go-to place for breakfast. It was just pancakes and bacon, and I loved it because the pancakes and bacon was sort of like home, and it was just good to sort of split it up a bit, the meals up a bit. But it was also tough because we were on the road a fair bit too. So thankfully, their convenience stores over there have a wide variety of meals to have. It actually they have a wide variety of meals, and you can get like your curries and different sandwiches and different rice and meat bowls. But in saying that, I just remembered that my time in America, they also had some pretty cool things that we don't have here in Australia. Like even something simple like at the service stations where you guys can just like grab a warm slice of pizza. It's not the healthiest, but it does the job when you're on the road. So there was a lot of 7-Eleven food on the road in Japan, but when we weren't on the road, it was beef and rice for the main part.
Where was the best ramen you had?
The best ramen. I think it's called like no, that's Coco's. Actually, this will probably surprise you. I had a real good. There was a ramen at a place at Denny's. They had a Denny's about 200 meters up the road, and I saw that, and it reminded me of the States. And I'm going, oh, I'm going to go check this out. Like I did not expect Denny's to be here, like where I was staying, and it was just really tasty, and yeah, went down a treat.
Right, and you mentioned we in America have some things that you don't have in Australia. You mentioned gas station pizza. Was there anything else?
That you guys have in America or Japan, or that we don't have in
No, in
Australia?
America that they don't have in Australia.
Oh, I think maybe you guys probably have some places. I'm only speaking from where I've had to deal with late night traveling here in Australia compared to America, but I think you guys have things opened up later, whether it's like just a fast food joint or whatever it is, or like walking into a service station and there's like a subway connected to it, and that subway is open till late too. So it's just little things like that, and then like the little warm foods. Whereas here, a lot of places shut between the good places shut earlier, around 8 to 9 p.m. 10 p.m. is where some of the fast food places start shutting, and then 12 p.m. There's very rarely anything open besides maybe like a Domino's pizza. And this is just from where I'm living at the moment and where I've traveled on the road in Australia. So yeah, and then when it comes to the convenience stores, you can still get like a nice little sandwich, but I don't know. It's all that pizza. It's always good to just have something nice at the end of the night, I guess.
Right.
So maybe that's on me for wanting the wrong food.
No, speaking about being in Japan, you actually have some New Japan Pro Wrestling training. You trained in the Fale Dojo, and I believe it's in New Zealand.
Correct.
What was that experience like? training with the Rogue General?
That was brutal. Simply put, that was a very intense training. Thankfully, I'd done 2 New Japan tryouts prior to that. When New Japan was sort of testing the waters here in Australia, they had some tryouts, and the first time I sort of knew what to expect, but not really. So I was really put off by, how I wasn't put off. Sorry, I was just my body was beaten up after that first tryout, just with the number of squats and the push ups and then the partner workouts and like squatting with someone on your back and it really took it out of you. So after that, my preparation was better. Then we had another tryout maybe a year or so later, and I was more prepared for that. I was more prepared for the conditioning and how tough it would be. And with that experience, I made sure I did pretty much my own 3-month training camp before the Fale Dojo camp even started. And I was doing like 2, 3, 4, 500 squats a day. I was doing my the line push-ups, like 100 to 200 of those a day. I was running, 4 kilometers every day, and I was really making sure I was prepared. So when I got to the Fale Dojo, the first few sessions, I'd actually they would say, do X amount of squats, and I was like, oh, sweet, like I've done this, and my body wasn't as fatigued as some of the others because I'd already built up those callus in my body, and I was used to that sort of work rate. But as time went on, the sessions got harder, and the brutal sessions sort of catch up to you, and the body starts to wear down. And by week 4 or 5, it's just a mental game by there. I love listening to Bad Luck Fale. I could listen to him all day. Like he would just sit there and we would all just like sort of surround him like kids at a campfire, and then he's like the one telling the stories, and he's just like so well spoken and has so much knowledge. And yeah, it was just a good character building. Unfortunately, it got cut short due to the pandemic. I was 7 or 8 weeks into a 12-week training camp, and unfortunately, the world was shutting down, and my time in New Zealand got cut short. But I loved every moment of it, and those experiences have made me tougher as a human, and I've been able to use that mental strength that I gained from the dojo in my experiences going forward within wrestling.
Now going back to your time in Japan, they actually extended your stay there, no?
Yes, yeah, correct.
What did that kind of mean to you? For them to say, we brought this guy in, we're going to see what he's all about, and then, oh, well, we're going to keep him for a little bit longer.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was awesome. It was stressful because a lot of last minute things had to get changed around. But yeah, I was honored. Like they gave me an opportunity that they didn't have to, but they did, and it was pretty much just from the moment that they said, these are the dates for the rest of January and the start of February. If you like, these are our dates. If you want to do them, you're more than welcome. I was like, well, this is all I've ever wanted. So yeah, it was all within maybe 2 hours of being like, holy crap, I need to like change flights. I need to sort accommodation quickly just to make sure that I'm sorted. And I need to make sure that all these events I'm able to make them. And yeah, it was awesome though. I'm so grateful for that. I've been wanting to wrestle in Japan since I started wrestling.
And,
Before I started wrestling, so for it to finally happen and then to get the little icing on the cake with Big Japan Wrestling, yeah, stoked.
maybe this is a little premature to say, but are we going back?
Yeah, that's the goal, and we've got something in the works now, which will probably be released by the time that this is out. But yeah, so keep an eye out for the social media. But there's something in the works, and we're working on getting back there, and that's where I'm going to start building my career in Japan. Is Big Japan. I'm grateful that they gave me that opportunity in the first place. I'm grateful that they seem happy to keep working with me, and yeah, I want to make sure that I do the best I can with my time in Big Japan.
Now, we mentioned the Fale Dojo. You were a part of Black and Brave here in the States as well. Did
Yes.
you come to America specifically for Black and Brave, or was it, well, I'm going to be in America, maybe I could do this as well?
No, yeah, I planned Black and Brave maybe a year in advance and a half. I think I was on the yeah, I was probably on the back end of being 16 years old, like maybe like not to be specific, but just to give a rough time frame. I think I was like 16 years old and like 9 months or something, and you had to be 18 years old to be in the in Black and Brave. So I saw when when Black and Brave put out their schedule for 2017, and I was actually speaking about this the other day, and I don't think I've like spoken about it publicly. Not that it's like a huge thing. I just think it's funny. But I was like, when would be the best time to go train at Black and Brave? And I sort of looked at the three training camps that they have a year, and the first one sort of crossed over with like WrestleMania. I'm like, oh, maybe Coach might be busy. And then I looked at like the tours that they did, and it just came down to the September class. Just looked like that all the coaches would be there all the time, and thankfully I was right. And I want to also phrase that for anyone that has doubts that Seth is there, even when he is busy, he is there as much as he can be. Like he might have missed 2 sessions for my class because he was in Europe for a tour. But for everyone, I get asked that question a lot: is Seth really there? And for all my mates that have trained, at different stages throughout the year, he is there nearly all the time. So no one has to worry about that.
We actually had one of your classmates on probably about a week ago, Izzy B.
Yes, yes.
Now,
Yeah, she's a good friend.
yeah, shout out to Izzy.
Yeah.
Now, you had your eyes specifically on Black and Brave. I'm just curious. Like, there are a lot of well-known, well-established wrestling schools in America. What kind of made you hone in on Black and Brave?
Well, to be completely honest, just a huge fan of Seth Rollins, especially when I was younger. So there's a little backstory to it, and so it was the 2015 Royal Rumble where Seth had the triple threat with Brock and John Cena.
Yeah.
And I'd always wanted to be a wrestler since I first saw it on TV, like when I was 5 or 6 years old. And, it just never like crossed my mind to be. I thought WWE was the only option. And for some reason I was like, I just thought it just randomly happened. I didn't know, how it all worked. And I'm watching the Royal Rumble, and Seth did the elbow drop from the top rope to Brock Lesnar through the announce table. And I don't know why, but that moment I saw it and I was just like this is what I have to do for the rest of my life. So I picked up my phone and I went on to WikiHow or whatever it was, and I was like, how to become a professional wrestler. And, it started off with like, find your local wrestling school. And I've gone, local wrestling school? Like, what's that? And, I went on to find my local wrestling school. So, and then, yeah, just long story, like to cut it short, I guess I just loved Seth's style in the ring. And, he is one of, if not the best wrestler in the world. So it's like, why not, learn from the best? I just believed, I was like, well, he's gone through the NXT, he's gone through the Performance Center that WWE have. So the WWE is where I want to be one day. So it's like, why not learn from someone that's currently at the top and knows what sort of is expected for this day and age, because like obviously like times are constantly changing and what people are interested, what people want. And he's in it right now. So I just thought that was the best option. And that's just my opinion. Yeah.
And that's a fantastic story. Did you actually get to tell that story to Seth?
No, I haven't. I haven't told him yet, but I will one day because the first time round, you're training and it's not just that particular school in the single out. It's everywhere you go in wrestling. You've sort of got to earn your way up a bit. So I was in like no position to be telling like fanboy stories sort of thing. And then the second time around in America, I probably could have, but he had a pretty busy schedule, and I was also pretty busy with wrestling. But maybe one day, like if I see him down the road, I'll definitely share the story. Like I feel like I'm in a position to share the story now.
Now, you're getting like when you started Black and Brave, you were maybe 2.5 years into your wrestling career, and even more so when you were in Fale Dojo. So,
Yep.
kind of when you're already, know pro wrestling, going to these schools, what's your mindset when you already know the basics? Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like anything, I guess, where you can never stop learning, and I felt like I definitely didn't learn as much as I could have here. I learned as much as I could, like I took in everything, but I knew there was more, and I just felt that where I was at the moment, I like in Queensland, which is the state I'm in. It's very hard. It's very hard in general to wrestle in Australia. Like weekly is doable, but to be able to do like 3 or 4 day loops, that's not really a thing here in Australia. So back then, when I was still 2 years in, I'd only been wrestling once a month. So I just thought to myself, like I'm only a year and a half into wrestling. I felt like, I sort of was stagnant with my training, and I just was like, this is what I want to pursue as a career. So I think to take it to the next level, I need to go get that sort of experience. And my coach here, like, is fully on board. Like he tells all the people that come through IPW, if they have dreams and aspirations, like they will all go tell him like, hey, like I'm looking at going to this wrestling school, and he will push you to go. He says, mate, like go. That's fantastic, because he knows that wrestling in one place and training at one place, you're not like you're not gonna like really. You can only learn. You're not gonna keep advancing just staying in one place. So he pushes that. So yeah, that was just my mindset. I was just like, that there's more to learn. That there's things that I'm not quite getting in wrestling. There's things that aren't clicking right, whether it's with the psychology, whether it's with the technique of some moves, whether it's my style. And yeah, I just wanted to keep gaining that knowledge, and that's why.
You mentioned, Seth Rollins doing the elbow drop from the turnbuckle to the ringside announce table. You
Yep.
actually recreated that in a match, no?
Yes, that's correct. That would have been maybe 6 months after I finished training at Black and Brave back home. Yeah, I had a no disqualification match, and got my opponent on the announce table that we have, and I recreated the moment that made me take that next step in wrestling.
All right. Now, while you was in the States, you actually wrestled for IWA Mid South, no?
Yeah, correct.
What was that experience like?
That was cool. A lot of things are really cool to me, not only because I'm still a fan of wrestling, but it's because, once again, being like a kid, in Australia, seeing all these things over in America, it's just like, oh man, like, will I ever get to do this? Like, you see the WWE on TV, and then you see all the wrestlers on TV, and you do, some research and watch their matches on the indies, and then you go to find out that a lot of them have come through IWA Mid-South, and you're like, wow, this is like crazy. So to be able to say that I, went and competed in IWA Mid-South was pretty cool, a pretty cool thing. And obviously I put up an Instagram post because it's meaningful to me, and it was an accomplishment. So I truly, I don't know if the people wrestling in America see it the same as I do. Like, for them, that's just like might be another promotion that they're wrestling in, and that's completely fine. But it's just, being someone obviously on the other side of the world, and you watch, you stay up late watching these matches, or you're watching wrestling instead of doing your school homework, and you're seeing these IWA matches, and obviously other independent, Ring of Honor and all that, and you just think, wow, like, will I ever get to do this one day? So to be able to do it was awesome.
Absolutely, and and I completely understand what you mean. Like, oh, some people might be like, IWA, okay, but the wrestlers, that are knowledgeable, they know, when you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, we've been talking about, all these incredible things and experiences you've had, but you actually retired in May 2020, no?
Yeah. I guess we're going to talk a little bit about that. I made sure that I didn't use the word retire, even though that's what I meant. I think I said like I'm done with professional wrestling, but that's correct.
Could you kind of tell us what made you decide to hang up the boots, and what ultimately made you pull them down and put them on again?
Yeah. So before that, I've been doing. This isn't a sob story, but I was doing factory work, my boss was a family friend, and he was so good to me. Like, he would let me take days off, like a Friday if I had to go wrestle. He was awesome. But obviously, my dream is to be a professional wrestler, and so working in a stinking hot factory, it was tough. And I've done that for about 6-7 years actually, and I'd finished Black and Brave, and then just went about my life. I was wrestling very consistently in Australia, and then I was like, okay, I think it's time to see what the next move is to elevate myself. So I started saving up, for about a year in advance at my job. And I had set out on this 6-month journey, and that was going to be what elevated me to the next level and got my name out there. In my mind, it was my plan. So I saved up, and the first 3 months of the trip was that trip in America. And unfortunately, and I take respect, it's always, I'm not it was my fault for it not being what I wanted it to be. Maybe I could have worked harder, maybe I could have gone about things differently, but it was what it was. And either way, it was phenomenal. I still loved every second of it. So I had the 3 months in America, and from the 3 months in America, I was coming home for a brief period for like 4 weeks, and then I was off to the Fale Dojo for 3 months to train. And so that accumulation of 6 months in my head was going to be that this is what sort of takes me to the next level. And as I mentioned earlier at the Fale Dojo, about 7 or 8 weeks in, the pandemic hit. And I'm just going to speak for myself. Like I had once again put so much in. I was like so much into it. I saved up and worked in that factory. I put all my money into the tour for the States, and I was like down to my last few bucks, and I poured my heart like into the Fale Dojo. Like my body was just brutalized, and the world started shutting down. And I remember I got in a phone call. It was one afternoon. I was taking a walk, and I was on this football field, and there was no one around. I was just walking around, I was just relaxing and all that. And my dad calls, and he goes, "Hey mate, like there's this like thing going around where the world's shutting down, and you're probably going to have to come home." And I had no idea like what was going on. I wasn't aware of what was going on in the world because I was just so focused on training. And I've just gone, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, mate, they're like shutting borders down and everything." I've gone, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Mate, like we don't know like what the future holds." And I was pretty much dead broke at this time, and I was going to have to turn to my parents for support for the last month in New Zealand. And anyways, he goes, "Mate, like I don't know if me or your mother's going to have a secure job." I've gone, "Well, what's going on?" And about an hour later, I'm on Facebook or something, and I just see like Australian borders shutting down. I've gone, "What is like happening here?" So I did research, and then within 24 hours, pretty much I had a flight booked home because as I said, the borders were shutting down. So I had put in all that work for, unfortunately, that to happen. And I do want to state that is nothing compared to what other people had to experience. This is just speaking, from what happened with me. So that happened, and I was just gutted. I was like, I had no money to my name at that stage then. I just poured my heart in the, nearly 6 months of wrestling in hopes that something would eventuate from it, whether it's just making more of a name for myself in Australia or getting noticed by a promotion or whatever. And that happened. And then, I had to have a little hernia operation that just been nagging me, and I got that fixed up, and I think I was still on the local anesthetic or whatever it's called, and I was just like, I am so done with wrestling right now. And I was like, in my head, I was just like, I've given it my all for 5 years or something, and which is nothing looking back on it. And I was like, and here I am. And just a complete sort of feeling sorry for myself or whatever, which, so then to get back on track, I took about 8 months off, but I always sort of knew, like, I was just like, there's no way I was finishing my, I wasn't finishing my story like that, some would say. So what got me back in was just the fact that I love wrestling, and I was like, I've spent my life savings on Black and Brave to save up again and spend my life savings on America and New Zealand. I'm not investing this much money into wrestling to just give up. And like, I won't ever give up until I make it. There's going to be roadblocks that I'll have to get over, but whatever. So there was a quote, and it's really funny. To me it is. So I never went to my high school formal because it was on a Friday, and I wanted to instead watch WWE SmackDown and then just go to the after party that the formal had. So I missed my school formal. Leading up to that, one of like our year coordinators that look after, at the year 12 level, she's talking to me and she goes, why aren't you, you know, I really think you need to go to formal. Like, I'd hate for you to miss out. And I'm like Miss Anderson, like, I don't care about school formal. Like that's the least of my concerns. Like it just wasn't my thing. I didn't like getting dressed up in suits, and I do now, but I didn't back then. And she said to me, I would rather you regret going to the formal in, 30 years than regret not going. And I understood where she was coming from. Like, you rather regret, doing something knowing, hey, like I gave it a crack, but it didn't pay off, rather than regret not doing it and being like, oh, what could have been? So that was the same thing I had with wrestling. I was like, I would rather regret going back and having another match to see if I am truly still passionate about this and this is what I want to pursue, rather than regret hanging it up because, I had to have a minor operation and I was upset that, 6 months of wrestling didn't work out, where, in the grand scheme of things, in 40 years, I can look back and let's say I wrestled for 20 years, fingers crossed, touch wood. That 6 months is just a minor stint in my career. So yeah, that's why I decided to do it. And when I laced up the boots again, I had one of my best matches, because I just went out there, I had fun, I didn't put pressure on myself, and yeah, it's been all guns blazing since.
Oh yeah, that was an awesome story.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, prior to almost hanging them up, you had a match with Santa Claus that you lost.
Yes, in SCW, are you talking about?
I believe so. Yes.
Yep.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so I think that was actually my last match in America for that particular tour, and that was at SCW, which is the company that's run by Marek Brave, who's also a head coach at Black and Brave.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was a fatal four-way, and
yeah, it was
I think
Cornboy and JT Energy.
Yes, correct, and we had that match, and unfortunately, I didn't get the win. But Santa was still on my side, and yeah, that was just one of it was probably one of the first times I've done something fun like that in wrestling, and those moments are super fun because you can sort of be in the moment, and that's where like the magic sort of happens, where you're living in the moment and you're soaking it in as it happens, and yeah, I remember Santa had some milk with him, and the first thing that came to mind was doing the Stone Cold Clash of Beers on the top rope. So I got 2 glasses of milk or whatever it was, and I looked at Marek Brave, and he shook his head saying no because the milk would have stained the ring. But I was like, I'm going home in a few days anyway, so I'll leave it to the other boys to suffer. And I did the Stone Cold thing with the milk, and that was that.
Perfect. Now, somebody you also shared the ring with, but not in the wrestling capacity, was actually your sister.
Correct. Yep.
She came to celebrate with you after a match. No?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So yeah, that's just my little sister who's just a huge wrestling fan because her big brother was a wrestling fan, and I guess I got her into it at a young age, and yeah, she's just probably my biggest supporter. She loves coming to watch me wrestle, and she's very energetic, very passionate. And sometimes she loves having the spotlight on herself, and I thought, like, why not let her share this moment with me? And the crowd were so receptive. I'm always so thankful to Josh, who's the owner of IPWN, and that's where I first started. He has been nothing but amazing to me and support, and he loves having my sister at the shows. He loves letting her walk out with me or or coming in the ring afterwards. And yeah, I just I have a vision of comparing two photos, and there's going to be a photo of me and my sister celebrating after that match in IPW that you've seen on my Instagram, and then there's going to be a picture of me and her celebrating after a match that I've had at WrestleMania, whenever that is, and it's going to be a full circle moment when that happens.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the to Zeke's bizarre adventure. You're a pro
Okay.
wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are about to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh, jeez. Going up and down, a story about going up, a bizarre story. It's probably as simple as traveling on the road with the boys and traveling distances that you probably shouldn't be traveling with the lack of sleep that we get, and getting hallucinations while you drive is probably a good fit for that story. There was one specific time where I reckon I'd been up for probably over 24 hours straight, like driving 8 hours to a venue, being at the venue and wrestling, which takes up 5 to 6 hours, and having to drive like 10 hours to another town. And for some reason, I'm seeing blue sheep run across the road. So that was quite bizarre, but we're all good, though. We're all good.
Okay, blue sheep.
Yes.
Alright, definitely a bizarre adventure to say the least. Alright, maybe not a bizarre adventure, but a great experience. You were part of Young Rock, and you actually worked with Chavo Guerrero, no?
Yeah. I don't even know how long ago that was now. That was maybe 2 years, probably. But yeah, the production was done locally at one of our big theme parks. I'm pretty sure it was Movie World, which is where I didn't even know, but a lot of big movies are actually filmed over there, and a lot of of the American production teams bring their set over to where I live. So obviously, Young Rock, being about wrestling and having wrestling scenes, they reached out to some of the local promotions, and I fit the bill for one of the characters that they wanted, and yeah, I got the gig. That was a long day. I recently, Conor McGregor has spoken about it. I don't know if anyone listening or follows him or has heard with that movie that he's just filmed, but he said that the hours are ridiculous, and I played the smallest part for this TV show. My scene was probably 1 second long. The filming of my scene probably was 10 seconds of footage that they chopped down with, had to do multiple cuts, but that took nearly all day. So what these actors are doing at the top level blows my mind, just what goes into it and how much it takes to film a movie. And I'm going way off topic here, but it truly, we filmed a TV show, right, which is they had a basic sort of storyline. There wasn't this crazy bombs are going off and buildings are collapsing and aeroplanes are doing Avengers type of stuff. So my mind starts thinking, what on earth does it take to make a movie like Avengers? Once again, I'm going way off topic, but that's what I was thinking. But to bring it back to working with Chavo, that was so cool. He is he has no ego whatsoever. He doesn't think he's better than anyone else. He is so knowledgeable. He's so good at his job. He takes the time out of his day to actually talk and work with you and make sure everything's sweet. He's so understanding that a lot of us, it's our first time being in front of a camera on a film set, and he, some of us, it took a few takes, and if we stuffed it up, he would just get in there, hey man, maybe try this and do this, and it was just a really good environment to be around. So being with Chavo was awesome, and to see what he's accomplished in being a director for some wrestling films and whatnot is awesome.
Was there anything that you took from pro wrestling that helped you in filming the show? And vice versa, was there anything filming the show that helped you in pro wrestling?
I think being somewhat able to work the camera, I guess, when you hear it a lot, maybe for WWE, like work the hard cam sort of thing, or so when I'm wrestling, I always try and make sure I'm aware of my surroundings. I know where the hard camera is. I know where the roaming cameras are around the ring. So there was that, and so that helped, and that helps where where I should sort of show my facial expressions. But really, for that particular stunt that I did, it was sort of just the basic pro wrestling, getting thrown around, just knowing how to fall correctly, knowing how I should take the punch that I was taking and where I need my face to be. But the directors are sort of on that, and they sort of tell you what they want anyways. So but it does make it easier. It takes the pressure off, knowing I know how to take a punch, I know how to fall on the mat, so I don't have to worry about all that stuff because that's second nature. All I have to worry about is just where they want me to end up in the ring for the shot that they want. What I took from them, I was on set for the whole day, but there was a lot of waiting around. So when it actually came down to it, and the whole set, it was this empty shed, and then within 5 minutes, the whole set had rolled in from another shed or warehouse that they were filming in, and the whole shed was just full of equipment and people. There was all this staff and camera equipment and everything, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And I think it was just the professionalism and how people carry themselves, the work ethic of not only the main character but everyone else, and just sort of presentation and what it takes to be at that level, sort of thing. There's so many factors to take into consideration when wanting to be, a presentable person, and yeah. So that was just, the work ethic was a big thing, because some of the characters in that show, I was like, this is crazy what they're doing.
All right. Now, you ran with Team TD in a run of Red Rock Canyon in Las Vegas?
Oh, yes. Yeah, sorry, I missed the first part of that. Did you say I went on a run with Team TD?
Yeah. Team TD.
Yes, correct.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so long story short, Shannon is a mixed martial arts fighter and also UFC fighter, and he's a local boy just like myself, and my old boss, who, the family friend, as I mentioned, he sent me this screenshot because a reason I left the factory work was to not only put more focus in the professional wrestling and training, but it was also I wanted to learn a few other things like editing, like videos and all that, like video editing and cinematography and videography and all that sort of stuff. And I really like that. So I went on to learn about photography and filming, and I'm not the best by any means, but he actually sent me a screenshot of his friend reposting Shannon's Facebook post on his private account or something, and it was pretty much Shannon put out this PSA saying hey guys, I have a fight coming up in Vegas, and I want to document my journey and start building my social media platforms, and he just said, if it's the right person, there's a potential trip to Vegas involved. And I've just gone, oh my God. And so my old boss sent me the screenshot and he said, oh, is this what you're doing now? Like, the social media and all that. And I was doing marketing for my dad's company. And I was like, this is huge. And so they said to go through his manager. And I was just like, screw that. I'm going direct to Shannon. I messaged Shannon. I'm going, hey, man, like, just saw like your post and like, I would love to catch up and have a chat. My dad, he's in real estate. So he was like telling me how to word it correctly because sometimes I fluff around too much and I talk and I just like dig myself in a hole. And he just goes, mate, just be direct and just say like, hey, mate, like nice to meet you and all that. And which is, just something normal. And he just goes, I'd love to catch up for a coffee when you're free and discuss this opportunity. And I was like, oh, but don't I have to tell him that, but what if I can't do it? And he goes, mate, just go catch up for a coffee and see how it goes. I went, all right. So I messaged him that. I just said, hey, Shan, saw your Facebook post and would love to catch up whenever you're free and talk about it. And he said, I'm free Wednesday morning, which was 2 days after I sent the message. And I went into the training facility, and where it helped me is I actually have a PT that I do my sessions at the same mixed martial arts gym that Shannon trains at. So we already knew people like through each other. So I went and caught up with him, and I just said, look, man, like I don't care about, like if there's pay involved or not. I just want the opportunity to work with you and your team. I love the UFC. I love mixed martial arts. And there was like, I saw like resemblance where like he is someone that's pursuing a dream and a goal. And I'm doing the same thing in a different world. But sometimes I wish that someone would come along and be like, hey man, like, I just want to help you out and take some photos for free or something. And obviously nothing for free, but like it is a struggle when you're first starting out and you're trying to, get stuff for yourself. So yeah, I just said, Shan, like I'm your guy, man. And we started working the next day, and yeah, it eventuated to going to Vegas with him and being a part of International Fight Week last year. And oh man, I could go on for days about how insane, the experience as a whole was, like being able to go to the UFC Performance Institute, being around Shannon and his team. They're like-minded people. They're all driven. They all work hard. They all are striving for a goal. They all have like this purpose, and they're just the people that I like to be around. There's other people in this world that are driven by other things, whether it's like a business or I don't know, just other things that's awesome that they're driven that aspect. But with wrestling training, training for wrestling is a big thing, and obviously being a sport, I just related to these guys. And yeah, we ended up running in Vegas for a part of his weight cut, and yeah, that was so cool because I think I said in the Instagram post, just like I'd grown up watching like Floyd Mayweather and these like prize fighters, these documentaries of them running through the desert. I've gone like, imagine like being able to do that one day, and it happened. So yeah.
Now, keeping on the topic of running, you could correct me if I'm pronouncing this wrong. I apologize if I am pronouncing this wrong. You were part of the kokoda challenge?
Oh, the Kokoda challenge, yes. Yep.
What was that like? I believe it was 96 kilometers in 24 hours?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. So, wow, yeah, that was another brutal thing. So the Kokoda challenge, it goes off like something that happened like in the war, I guess, and these people that fought had to pretty much trek 96 kilometers to, I believe, like eventually get to where like the main fight was. I don't want to like screw the story up or whatever, or be disrespectful. But that's just what it was. So it's like like an ode to them, and remembering them, and honoring the warriors. And so every year we have this kokoda challenge, because it was the kokoda track, and that they went on when they went to fight. And a few of my mates were in a group, and they just said, "Oh, we should do the kokoda challenge." And I've just gone, "Yeah, let's. I'm down." And unfortunately, some of them got injured or couldn't do it, so I ended up still with 3 other mates, and we were so nonchalant about it. It was not good at all. We did maybe 3 hikes to practice, and the furthest hike we did was 18 kilometers, and then I would maybe do like 8 to 10 kilometers on a treadmill, and the training I did was like a month. It was I was just like, oh, I'll be sweet, like I'm just walking 96 kilometers. I don't know what that translates to miles, but it's a lot. And my dad kept telling me, he goes, "Mate, you need to, you can't do this. Like, you can't just go and walk 96 kilometers. You can't just wake up one day and go hike 96 kilometers. I'm like, oh, it'll be right. Like, I've done a few hikes. I'm 24 years old or whatever I was, 23 years old. Like, I'm sweet. It turns out I wasn't sweet. To break it down a little bit, so it's 96 kilometers long. I believe there's 13 checkpoints, and the checkpoints are just for you and the team to register that you're safe, you've made it to this part of the kokoda track, and you keep moving. There's 4 checkpoints where you have your team come out to you, and it's all in like the hinterland, all in like the bushes and all that, and your team come out to you and they feed you and all that, and it's this really cool like team bonding thing. So all of our parents would get in their cars, and they would bring tents, and they would bring portable barbecues, or soups that they made up at home, and it's like it's like a pit stop, except in the car races the pit stop's 10 seconds, but this was like a pit stop, and they're all strapping our knees up and changing our socks for us because we are just brutalized, and it was this really cool thing. So we started early in the morning, and the first checkpoint where the family get involved was 30 kilometers away, and I was screwed about 5 kilometers into this 96 kilometer hike. The first 5 kilometers was just uphill, and it was very, very steep, and I've gone, what have I gotten myself into? I got to that first checkpoint at 30 something kilometers in, and man, I'm in tears, I'm in pain. Everyone is eating, and Dad's just like, "Mate, you need to have this sandwich. You need to get some sugar into you or something. You need to." I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. I was just had this migraine, and I'm just going, "Oh my God!" And I just laid down for 10 minutes, just thinking, "What's going on?" And then I kept going back to the people that went to war for us, and I've just gone, these guys had artillery, they're in heavy boots, and they're going to fight, for our country, sort of thing. And so I can toughen up, and I can bloody finish this thing. So and I always think when things are tough, I think of the people that aren't really lucky enough, or fortunate enough, I should say fortunate enough, to be doing things that I could do that. There's so many other people that would probably dream of being able to do this 96 kilometer hike with friends, So I was just picked myself back up, and then got to the next checkpoint, and long story short, it was just the most brutal hike and experience of my life. It took the team 27 hours and 40 minutes, I believe. I think there's a 39-hour cutoff, because that's how long it took for the people that were fighting at war to get to that final checkpoint, where it took them 39 hours to sort of hike through the Kokoda Trail to get to where they needed to be. So there's a 39-hour cutoff. We made it in 27 hours. It was once again there's like that saying where like the body goes first and then it's the mind. And my body went at 5 kilometers in, like a few hours into the trek. It was just all a mental game. The last we had our last checkpoint, and my dad, oh my god, so we've just had like, it was like, the next morning, like 24 hours in, we've had brekkie, like bacon and egg roll, and dad's just gone like, well done fellas, like, this is it guys, like you haven't got that much longer to go, like it's all easy from here. I'm like, easy? And he just goes, yeah guys, and like he had the map wrong. So I'm like, there's no chance that this is easy. And I looked at the map, and we still had 18 kilometers to go, and like it was one of the hardest hills to climb at that stage. So so we went on to finish that 18 kilometers, and during that 18 kilometers, we started, like me and the team, we all were like hallucinating. So I was like seeing tents, and I thought the tents were like checkpoints, and I'd be like, guys, like there it is, like we're nearly there, and later's like, what? No. And then like 1 minute later, like they would be like, oh, someone else would be, oh guys, like I think, is that the yellow tent that we need to be at? There was no yellow tent anywhere. My friend was seeing people fish in the forest. I was like seeing cats like run up and down trees and stuff. It was all like the weirdest thing. But yeah, we finished it off, and that's something I will take with me for a long time. Yeah, and me get through like times where I might have doubted myself. I've gone, oh well, if I can finish this hike, like I can do a lot of other things.
That's absolutely incredible. And just for anybody that's wondering, 96 kilometers is 60 miles for American gibberish.
60 miles, yeah. Either way, it's a long way. But it was awesome, and it was for like everyone that does it, which is like hundreds and hundreds of people. Like we all raise money for charity, so it's all for a good cause too.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I want to do it again. I want to beat my time. I just got to make. I just have to train this time round here to go. I was actually going to mention at the start, everyone's all bubbly, and so we're all walking and like together because there's like hundreds and hundreds of people taking off at the same time, and obviously you don't start splitting up until like 10 kilometers in or something. So at the start, you're just talking to people and you're like, oh, have you guys trained for this? And we're like, oh, like we did a few hikes. Like, what about you? And they're just like, yeah, we've trained for like since last year, and we hike every single weekend, and every day we do X amount of bloody kilometers. And I've gone, oh, and then even they were struggling earlier on. So I'm like, if these guys who have trained for a year are struggling, I am in for a rude awakening, which I was.
Yeah, maybe this time around, go longer than 10 kilometers.
I think you're onto something there, yeah.
Yeah. But it's amazing that you were able to do what you were able to do. With the amount of training you had. Like, I mean, getting up and getting to my refrigerator is a journey at this point.
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you'd be surprised what you can do. The mind's a powerful thing. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. The mind's a powerful thing for sure. Just as you just set your mind to it, and nothing's going to be easy. Like if you're trying to accomplish something, but yeah, as long as you just keep pushing through, and you just like John Cena says, just never give up.
Oh yeah. Now, you were in the Gold Coast Bulletin newspaper. It's one thing to be, a part of, a website, but I kind of feel like it hits a little different when it's in black and white in your hands. No?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, especially what you're referring to being that was probably, I think, my first time being in the newspaper.
Oh, right. I believe so. Can you tell us about, seeing yourself in the newspaper?
Yeah, that was cool. That was coming off my training stint at Black and Brave. And I guess that was just a cool little article that they were going to write up about that, just a local guy because pursuing pro wrestling is different, especially here where I'm from, in my particular suburb. We're surrounded by surfers, which I love surfing and the beach and all that. But so pursuing wrestling isn't really it's a weird thing to pursue. So I just think that they just thought it was different that a local boy is pursuing wrestling and they wanted to just be supportive. And that was really cool. I was very nervous, but that's just all a part of the experience, I guess. And I know what I would do differently again. But yeah, went out and had a little photo shoot and did a little write up and an interview, and I got my first piece in the newspaper. So that was cool, and I kept it. I made sure to keep it. I kept one for myself, which I still have framed on my table to this day, and then my family were very happy for me. They've got one pinned up on the wall, and my grandmother who's also very supportive, and so to some people you're just in the newspaper, no big deal. But when you're pursuing a dream and it gets recognized, that's a cool thing. I like those little things. It's special. It's the same as doing podcasts. I think podcasts are the coolest thing because I listen to my heroes and people that I grew up watching do podcasts, and I'm like, oh, I want to be able to do a podcast and all that, So yeah, I just cherish those moments.
Oh yeah. I think that's a great segue into the colossal question. Let's say that they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh, that's a great question. What would be the first 3 songs? Well, I guess it's the opening of a movie. So usually it's more upbeat before they have the ups and downs. Maybe just for like an Easter egg sort of thing, by Throne by Bring Me the Horizon has always been my theme song. So maybe that could be like the opening song or something, because that plays a huge part in who I am as a wrestler, and as it's my entrance song.
Okay.
Who would be the first 3 songs? I'm taking time because I want to answer this question correct. It's a great question.
If you need to pull up the Spotify, you can absolutely.
Let's have a look. What do we got at the moment? Maybe, actually, give me a second. I'm going to go to recently played. Maybe I love listening to Juicy by Biggie Smalls. The bit where he talks about I've even forgot the verse now. It's where he's talking about being in school or something, and pretty much just being doubted, and all that, and the teachers doubting him, and then he made it to the top essentially. That's a good song, which I like. I'm trying to find one more. That's the verse I was looking for. He goes, "When I was dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." Like, I put so much into wrestling, and it's hurt the old bank account. And hopefully one day, if a movie is ever made about me, then maybe the bank account's a bit healthier. And what else would be in there? Probably like a Linkin Park song, maybe like Somewhere I Belong or something. I like that song. I was just trying to think for the first, usually it's upbeat at the start. So maybe I'll go with those three songs. I love The Wrestler. I don't know if you've heard that song, but I feel like that's relatable to every wrestler. But yeah, probably those. Yeah, I forget who sings it. It's in the movie The Wrestler. What's it called? The Wrestler by Bruce Springsteen. I love Bruce Springsteen. He sings it.
Okay. We got some solid picks there, to say the least. Now that we have the soundtrack down, everybody knows you get the soundtrack down, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who plays Zeke? And you can't say yourself because you are legally obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Who plays me? Blood. Geez, Zac Efron did a great job in Iron Claw. Who plays me? You know what? Just because of how jacked Zac Efron got, and he would make me look good, I'm just going to run with Zac Efron.
Okay.
Because he did not only a phenomenal job, but he got absolutely jacked. So maybe he'll make me look even better for the people that watch the movie.
I feel like Zac Efron now is low-key, a part of the wrestling community because of Iron Claw.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was I don't know how they would have edited it, but when he was hitting the ropes in the trailer, even a lot of wrestlers retweeted. I saw Will Ospreay, one of the more notable ones that retweeted. The way he was hitting the ropes was crazy. It was just so crisp and clean, and yeah, he did a great job. Not that he needs any bloody validation from me, but just watching. I loved that movie. It was such an emotional movie, and I think it's just cool as a wrestler to watch stuff about wrestling. You can watch other movies about. I'm not saying that I've struggled by any means. I have a very supportive family and network, but at times it can be tough when you're pursuing a dream, and you might be watching a movie about a rapper, that struggled when he grew up and he finally made it, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. You sort of relate to an extent, but then you just translate it to the wrestling side of things. But to watch a movie about wrestling and the struggles were within wrestling, that was a cool movie to watch.
Now that we have you casted, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you in your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
3 people. I will say I'm trying to think. I have a few options right now. I've got 2 of my close mates who we used to wrestle on the trampoline all the time, and obviously I took it to the next level by pursuing wrestling. But they're very supportive of me. I'm thinking of this question as who would be in the front row if I'm main eventing WrestleMania, and how they always have the family in the front row.
Right.
Because, obviously my family is so important in this story, too. But 3 supporting actors. I'm going to go... Oh, geez. Can I do 4?
Yes. I just limited
Okay,
to 3, but there's no actual rules.
Okay. Well, if there's no rules, I'm gonna go my parents, because they've been very supportive of the journey and very helpful, and I couldn't have accomplished some of the things without their help. So I'm gonna go my parents. I'm gonna go Josh, who is who's the owner of IPW, the first person that gave me an opportunity in wrestling. I feel like that's always the hardest part is someone giving you an opportunity when you first get out because they're taking a risk on you to debut on their promotion, and they're trusting you to, do well. So I'm going to go Josh, my family, and I'm going to go Josh, my parents. I'm going to go Seth because he helped me get to another level, and he is very supportive, and he's a phenomenal coach, and he's someone that continues to help you after your training at Black and Brave. I'm going to go Seth, and then I've got 2 or 3 very close mates that have been with me along the journey and have supported me from the get-go, and they always they've been to my shows, and they help me envision the future. They say, we can't wait until you're at this stage. They say, man, like I can already picture it happening. Like you're in WWE or whatever. And so that's really helpful because the journey can get tough sometimes. So to have them backing me up is pretty cool. So what's that? That's like 5 people. Who plays them? Was that another question?
Yeah. I mean, if you can't name cast them, we could leave it to casting as well.
Yeah, we'll leave that to casting because that is very very tough. And I'm only probably thinking of like the big names like Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Holland and all that sort of stuff. So I'm actually really bad when it comes to movies and their legitimate names. Obviously, if someone just would say, I know Tobey Maguire, but I'm just going to use this as an example. If someone says, Tobey Maguire, and let's say I didn't know, I'm like, oh, just give me a role that he played. Oh, Spider-Man. I'm going, oh, yeah, I know him. So I'll just be listing actors that, that played a role in a movie. But yeah.
I mean, that's okay. I mean, I'm the same way sometimes. Most of the times I am. I actually learned a couple of actors' names from this question. Oh.
Yeah, it can be tough trying to remember.
It sounds, it's starting to sound like a real blockbuster, and you could pre-order the tickets now.
Yes.
Now, you are an Australian from Australia, so here is an Australian exclusive question. Hungry Jacks or Burger King?
All right. Whoa. I'll be honest. So I used to love Hungry Jacks and McDonald's and all that, but for some reason I read an article about 10 or 12 years ago about this burger that went wrong at Macca's or something, and I have not had it since then. So it's very hard to answer that question, but I'm gonna have to go with my own Hungry Jacks because that's the last time I had it was probably 10 years ago, and it's very hard to compare. The only thing I've really had from Burger King when I was over there was the fries, and I liked them.
Well, you do know about the controversy between Burger King and Hungry Jacks, right?
What is it that do they get compared a lot, or did one copy the other?
No, Burger King, literally everywhere except Australia is called Burger King. But for some apparent reason, there's another restaurant in Australia called Burger King that trademarked Burger King. So when Burger King came to Australia, they had to rename it Hungry Jack's.
Oh, well, there you go. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and there's like a conspiracy theory that McDonald's aided in that venture of them trademarking Burger King. It's a deep rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of that. I thought that was weird because my time in New Zealand, I'd seen restaurants that were in the States, but not even in Australia. And I was just thinking, and I think, I don't think Burger King was one of it. Might have been, there might have been like a Carl's Jr. or so. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I thought that. I was like, that's weird that like New Zealand have this and Australia wouldn't.
It's definitely a bizarre adventure to say the least. But onto a controversial subject: pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
No, straight up no. That's disgusting.
So we're very anti pineapple on pizza.
Yes, yep. It's meat and cheese, and yeah, that's and maybe a few other things, but definitely not a pineapple.
What's your spirit Pokemon?
What was that? Sorry.
What's your spirit Pokemon?
Oh, I haven't watched that in a long time, but I got into it because it seemed to go viral a few years ago, mainly because Logan Paul was raving on about it. Isn't like the Charizard like the number one?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go with that then because that's the main one I know, and because it's the number one. So I'm going to go with the Charizard.
All right.
Going to be selfish.
No, we love.
What is some other one? There's like a Squirtle, isn't it? That's what like Logan Paul has tattooed on him, doesn't he? A Squirtle or something.
I don't know if Logan Paul has a Squirtle tattoo. If we're talking about the OGs, then you're talking Pikachu, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander. And then obviously the evolved Charmander is Charmeleon that evolves into Charizard.
Right. Okay. See, I'd heard of like I watched it when I was a little younger. Then I sort of got back into it when it was going viral a few years ago, and all those names ring a bell. But to like recall all like the backstories and all that's something I couldn't do right now. So I just remember Charizard being like some rare one.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for THUG? THUG.
No, I don't.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail. Because a Doug can't spell.
That's perfect.
Yes, we love the late great Tracy Smothers, trying to keep the memory alive on the show. Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
You know what? I probably would. I've seen those matches over in Japan that they do with that doll or like even like broomsticks and all that. So I feel like that would be a good gimmick match to do over there. That's something that they would probably really buy into, I reckon.
Well, just for context, there's a wrestler named Psycho Mike that indeed wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Jeez, what did Meltzer rate that? Surely that's up there.
I would imagine it's a 5-star match, but I don't think Meltzer rated it because it wasn't in the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, he did not win that match either. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, what am I right now? 5 years. I see myself getting signed to a company in Japan, whether that's New Japan, Noah, DDT, or All Japan, or some other promotion potentially. I see myself getting signed there. I see myself a dream of mine as to wrestle at Ring of Honor, because that's one of my favorite promotions. When I was getting right into wrestling, I bought the DVDs and all that online and just watched those matches endlessly. So Japan company, Ring of Honor, I'd like to have done a stint in AEW, and in 5 years, I've either established a name in New Japan. I've done the best of the Super Juniors. I've done the G1 climaxes, and I'm a household name within that aspect. Or I am then beginning my journey in WWE, and whether that's NXT or WWE. But I think I see. I've always wanted to do I've always wanted to go everywhere before WWE. I did a tryout with for Evolve that had William Regal as a host, and he once said, he just said that WWE is not going anywhere. Like, that's always going to be there. So go out, wrestle in Japan, wrestle in Mexico, wrestle in Europe, get all the experience you can, and then the WWE. So yeah, in 5 years' time, I'm either at the top of New Japan Pro Wrestling or I am on my way to WWE.
And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what you are all about?
Off the top of my head, I have 3 matches. I have most recently my triple threat match at Korakuen Hall for the BJW Junior Heavyweight Championship.
Okay.
That probably is like the highest stakes match. It's at Korakuen Hall, so that's a huge venue. Probably the pinnacle of my career. Another really solid match I enjoy and go back watching is against a good friend of mine, Tim Hayden, who is just smashing it at the moment. And that's from Pro Wrestling League, and I believe that's on YouTube. I might have even posted that myself. So Zeke Andino versus Tim Hayden at PWL. And then the third match would be a match that sort of elevated me and got a bit of recognition, and that was my ladder match against Jesse Love, where we built this storyline for over 6 months, where he was the unified champion and I was the heavyweight champion of the same promotion. And we both wanted to solidify our status as the best, and we both wanted to be a dual championship holder, and it accumulated to a ladder match, and we beat the hell out of each other for 27 minutes, and that's still, and this isn't to like blow smoke or anything, but it surprises me that people still talk about that match to this day, like more so like locally,
Right.
whether it's like fans or like people that get into wrestling, they say, 4 years ago or 5 years ago now, I was a fan watching that, and that got me into wrestling, which is like crazy to me. But that was a brutal match.
Can we find that match on YouTube as well?
Yeah. That I believe IPW even posted that. So you can either type in Zeke Andino versus Jesse Love ladder match, or just head on to Impact Pro Wrestling Australia, the YouTube page, and it'll be on there.
All right, and you don't even have to do that. I'll find that match on YouTube, and I'll put a link to it in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, for anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this interview.
Perfect.
And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of Dean.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, here we go. This gets me nervous.
This is our speed round or bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Shawn Michaels.
Worst wrestler.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God. Oh, pass. I can't. He's the worst wrestler. I can't do that to anyone.
So you're taking the default answer.
I'll take the default answer.
You have chosen Eva Marie.
Oh my god. You said it. You said it.
I may have said it, but it's your choice. You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Seth Rollins.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Ooh. Probably Triple H.
Which one?
I think it was the SummerSlam one where it had like "Behold the King of Kings," and then it transitioned into time to play the game, and it'd be that one. Yeah.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Not dead.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast.
Well, there we go.
Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Fruit.
That is correct. It is indeed a fruit.
There we go. Well, sorry, go on.
No, what was you going to say?
I was going to say, I thought of that differently. We have a soft drink over here that we call squash. So I thought you were saying, what do I like more, squash, vegetables, or fruit? So I'm glad I got it right anyway.
New Japan wrestler Taichi. His ring gear gets smaller every year. He will morph himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
I'll just say, probably what Rock, Stone Cold, and Triple H and Batista, what they all wore. Like it covered just enough, a bit too much probably isn't the way to go. So you want some coverage.
Okay. And
I think, anyways.
And
if you're confident enough to go wear that, then go for it. But I am not.
So, you prefer full coverage, but to each their own.
To each their own, yeah.
And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
I can't say I have.
And that is the correct
I am
answer.
sorry, Darby.
And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
No, thank you for having me. I had a blast. That was good. That was really good. Thank you. I enjoyed the diverse questions and conversation, and it was an honor to be on the show.
Absolutely. We like to keep it interesting for our guests. And once again, where can we find you? Where can we find you on social media and your merchandise?
Yeah, just Instagram and X is at Zeke Andino, ZEKEANDINO. Pretty much the same on Facebook, or if you just search me on Facebook, that's where I'm at. And then links to any of my merch, that's in my Instagram bio, and I believe my X bio too. If it's not, it's just darkhorselifestyle.com. And then if you're after like 8x10s or whatever, just shoot me a DM. But I'll be putting those up online pretty shortly anyways. I'm doing a bit of a revamp at the moment. So within the next maybe 4 to 6 weeks, probably by the time this comes out, maybe 2 weeks after this comes out, I hope to have a new range of shirts and some other little merch things. And that'll just all be linked in my social media bios.
And the shorts, are they going to be like on a separate site, or people could just DM you for them?
Yeah, you can DM me, but they will be on a website too. Probably, I'll have that linked in the bio. It'll either be on my current website, which is Dark Horse Lifestyle, and I'll either have like, it'll be pretty obvious. Like you just click on the page, and the wrestling like Zeke section will be there, but or I'll just have a direct link. But either way, it'll be an easy find. I'll make sure of it.
Okay, and you don't even have to type it into your Google machine. We make it even easier. All of the links to all his social media and merchandise will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. If you're listening to this a little later before it drops, uh, the video will be updated with his current merchandise as well. Simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt.
That's right.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, but on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Fale Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, but on X, Dread, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, Zeke, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment, okay?
Let's do it.
For our very special guest, Zeke Andino, Calico Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling Wit
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.